Hey, beautifuls. We're back with another episode on Serenity Revamp. I'm Jewel, your motivational trainer and self love extremist. Let's talk about it. So, tonight we're going to be discussing why is it that so many people seem irritated or scared to discuss sex. It's like whenever you're discussing it, people want to shy away from it. They don't want to talk about it. They want to hush you. It's inappropriate. And the people who do discuss it, to me, it seems like they're only discussing it to bring shame to someone else. So it's like sex and shame go together, and there is never an air of positivity. Like, if we're going to talk about sex, clearly it ain't going to be on the positive tip. And I don't see why it can't be positive. So we're going to be discussing it. I like to break words down, so we're going to start with love and get that definition and just keep breaking it down until we get everything to its most simplistic form. So I like to look at it from the stance of everything in life is about freedom and choices and freedom. I think that, when it comes to a person having the freedom to choose, having the freedom to choose leads a person into being able to have a self-love expression. So when you have the freedom to choose, it is a self-love expression. That's what you're going to be pushing out, a self-love expression. When the other person is allowed that same opportunity, if you're the one giving it to them, it comes across to them as respect. So there's self-love expression for me, and then there's a respect that I have for you. I mean, that's what you'll be receiving because that's what I'm giving off. I think that ultimately when a person goes on their path and they make the choices they make, it's based upon a spiritual alignment, meaning that the spirit told you and led you to the choices that you make. Because if we're all created by God and we're created in his image, then wouldn't all my choices be based upon the alignment of the path of where I am on my journey? Everybody's path is going to be different. So where I am in my journey may not be where you are in your journey, but just because we're at different paths, different roadblocks or whatever you want to call it, that doesn't make somebody wrong. That doesn't make somebody right. And it sure doesn't give anybody the right to abuse the other person because they don't understand where they are at on their journey. It's their journey, and it's where God has them at for the lesson that he wants them to learn so that he can utilize them in the best way that he has planned for his divine glory and his mission that he has for them while they live on this earth. Like, let's get it. Let's talk about it. Let's get it. So when we're dealing with the word love, it says that love is defined as an intense feeling of deep affection. That's what it's defined as an intense feeling of deep affection. And that comes from the Oxford language. Now, when I define affection, which actually came from the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, it said that affection is defined as a feeling of liking and caring for someone. So I found that quite interesting that when you break down affection, it really said that the whole definition would say an intense feeling of deep liking and caring for someone. I thought that was interesting because it said liking and caring, meaning that you couldn't have one without the other. So that was, it was joined. It's like even in the definition of love, there's a unison. There's a unity. You can't have one without the other. You have to have the liking and the caring. So one would say, okay, so explain to me what really is caring then. So caring was defined as serious attention or consideration applied to something correctly to avoid harm or damage. That's crazy. So basically it's saying that in order to care, there has to be an intense focus to not bring harm or damage. So to care, there has to be an intense focus to not bring harm or damage, which means that in order to truly love, one must have an intense feeling of enjoyment and focus for not bringing harm or damage to the other person. So to me, the way I received that, it was saying that love itself cannot produce hurt. By definition, that would be impossible. Now, I know that goes against all we've been taught because I've heard the saying that, love is pain, love hurts, and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, according to the definition, it's absolutely impossible because it's based upon an intense liking and a caring. So by definition, it's impossible for love to produce hurt. The hurt comes from the people. I believe that it's the manipulation done by people that causes the hurt. Now, let's go back just a little bit. The initial question was, why are people so scared and shy away from sex, from discussing sex is what I'm saying. My observations have led me to see it in the manner that far too often sex has been associated with damage. Because whether we're talking about the act of sex or one's own sexuality, there's damage there, there's hurt there, there's pain. And I believe it comes from the way that the world has taken the beauty from it. So in them taking the beauty from it, there is a damage that follows anything associated with the word or the letters sex. However you want to look at it. Whenever you put those three together, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a damage. And in that damage also leaves the footprints of trauma. And then that itself is something on a whole nother level that we got to talk about when we get into trauma itself. I have heard some people say that they believe that sex was only given to us as a means to reproduce. That's what they believe. Me personally, I don't believe that. I believe that sex was given to us as a gift of pleasure. I believe that sex was given to us for us to have a ultimate enjoyment, something we should enjoy, something that spirits connect on, and there's an exchange of energy. That's how I feel. I also believe that pleasure that we experience from sex is a part of our birthright. Today, I think the concept of sex has been stripped of its beauty. Essentially, the beauty of sex itself has been molested by society. That's just my personal belief. I think that sex is a byproduct of love, and that sex happens after an intense feeling of enjoying someone and not wanting to bring them harm. Which to me, that means that the act of sex, making sex a pleasurable expression of a manifested gratitude to another person. That's just how I see it. So when I'm discussing sex, and when the conversation comes to me, I see it as a person, people, however you want to do it, whatever the case may be, but I look at it as being a pleasurable expression of manifested gratitude towards another person. I have an intense liking and caring for you, so I am manifesting my gratitude in this form of energy. And that's what I am giving to you. This is my gift to you. My pleasure is my gift to you because there is an intense liking and caring that I feel that I want to exert, and make sure that you can sense that as well. Clearly now, at the end of the day, the feeling must be mutual, because if it's not mutual, then that would be abuse, and I'm not for abuse in any kind of way. And if there's abuse, then it is not love. And if the sex causes damage, like I said, then that would actually be leaving the stamp of trauma. People cause trauma. I do acknowledge that sex can be used as a tool to employ the trauma. However, the sex is not the predator. The predator is the person who is knowingly having sex and causing harm to that person, because they're knowing, the predator is the person who is knowingly causing harm to the person they are having sex with. So that would be the predator. The one who knowingly is causing harm to the other person they are having sex with. Not sex, but that person doing the act. That's how I see it. So to me, it basically goes back to choices and freedom. And if you take away a person's choice, you take away their ability to express themselves, thereby silencing their voice. That's abuse. Silencing someone's voice by way of shaming them, like a sexual shame. That's just nothing more than, to me, a sophisticated, manipulative form of abuse. you just doing it on a higher level or whatever. So, and that just ain't cool at all. So I think it's about us not having any more shame. So we want to have no shame, all smiles at the end of the day, because there's nothing to be shamed about when it comes to sex, when it comes to your sexuality. If this is all about a self-love expression and not about bringing harm to anybody else, then what is there to feel shame about? And what is it so scary about the issue that will cause you to make another person feel bad about themselves just because this is how they choose to express their love? That's crazy. Like I said, as long as you're not causing abuse on somebody else, you're not taking the way that you choose to express yourself, the way that you choose to love somebody, as long as that's not causing abuse to somebody else. Because like I said, even though that's the energy that you're giving off and you think is love, is it being received as love, the person you're trying to give it to? Because if the other person doesn't receive it, then it comes to them as abuse, and you want to have an open conversation so that you can dialogue and see if there's an issue. Because if there is, then you got to pull back, because again, that will fall into abuse that leads all back to the damage that leads to the trauma. So it's always going to be about having an open discussion and making sure that the energy you're trying to give off is wanted and received. Let's not force anything on anybody. So at the end of the day, beautifuls, what I said all that because the point that I would like us to get to is that I want us to enjoy the spirits that enjoy the spirit who we align with. And I want us to love by true definition of the word. And I want us to have the best sex of our lives every day. Like, that's what it is. It's about pleasure. It's about happiness. It's about joy. It ain't about no shame. So no shame, all smiles. And if you haven't heard somebody tell you that they love you today, I want to make sure that you hear it. I don't want today to go by and nobody said they love you. So I will be that person. I will be your person. I don't mind being that person, because my aim is to just give off positivity, give off love and all that, like I said. So I love you. You are worthy by design. So continue to stay beautiful. Continue to stay you.